The SKT1 player at the bottom of Antigua Shipyard. Our Terran player in red, coached by Boxer. It is
SK Telecom T1 Fantasy.
Not a single loss today just yet. Great games that he has shown us. He won against Nestea, now he is up against the Protoss player. To the top of the map we have in the blue the evil genius, the Canadian, the foreign hope. It is
EG Huck Ladycourt.
Yeah. So far Huck exceeding expectations and Fantasy meeting them by far. See if he goes for a CC first here. It looks very likely with that queue up on the command center. He could change that, but very unlikely. And Huck goes for the 13 gate. What are we going to see from Huck? He is playing against one of the better players in this group, and will he play a late game, or is he going to go for a timing attack? We saw him go for a timing attack last game. This is a great map for Blink Stalkers.
Yeah, in general, it's a good map for Blink Stalkers, but it's not really a map that Protoss players like in this matchup. So this is one of the points that we have to consider here. Blink Stalkers is one of the options that Huck has. Also heavy gateway attacks. This is something that he's really known for. It's something that we could see.
Yeah, very, very true. It's all about the second gas for Huck if he takes it.
Yeah. And well, while we are currently seeing the build orders unfold, guys, once again pointing it out here, Fantasy, one of the few Casper players who has a Twitter account, so if you're supporting StarCraft players, casters, and personalities on Twitter, then make sure to add him, especially when you're a Terran fan. His Twitter account is SKT_Fantasy. And for the Canadians amongst you, all the foreigners and all the fans of EG Huck, he of course has also a Twitter account. It is Low Ranger Chris. Make sure that you add the two of us as well, at Caldor and at Proxywolf. Because if you have any comments about the cast and about the games today in general.
If you want to tell us anything. Just in general, we're asking questions. Now, Huck is taking an expand here, it looks very most likely because he hasn't taken a second gas. I mean, with the Chrono Boost he's used as well, he's not hitting a timing attack. So he's playing this very Huck style. He likes his one gate expands with one gas. And this is something, unfortunately for him, that he cannot deny the Scallop. Oh, that was so smart, his probe pull there. Now if he can kill the SCV with the Stalker, this is going to make Fantasy a little bit nervous because he sees Huck's Chrono Boost energy is pretty high because Huck skipped a Chrono, and he doesn't know how far along the Warp Gate research is, so Fantasy's actually going to have to play a little bit more defensively now.
Yeah. Fantasy, with the play that we've seen from him, is definitely... This is actually the second time that we see him play on this map against a Protoss player.
Yeah.
And the last time he was really aggressive. He started to hit his opponent very hard, especially when he had those medivacs out. He was doing a lot of damage. There was, of course, the game versus MVP Finale, who just lost to center. Both Terran players were successful against Finale today in this group. Two of the three, that is.
Yeah. Zealot pressure here from Huck will scout the CC. He can even force Fantasy back up the ramp with his Stalker. I'm a little surprised Fantasy didn't make a bunker, especially considering that he saw no Nexus. Must have sighted Huck really well, and with 5 Marines he can chase this back with good micro, but Huck traded some hit points there.
Yeah, Terran versus Protoss and Antigua, definitely not the best position for him, but we are going to find out what exactly he has in mind. He's going for a second base, he's adding gateways now. What is his plan? Are we going to see him with a heavy gateway attack? He's playing a lot of games on his stream lately, and gateway attacks were one of the weapons that he used over and over again. Now he's going into the robotics at first. Needs, of course, an observer out here, doesn't really know what exactly his opponent is up to.
What's really important for Huck, too, with this Stalker, is that he denies Fantasy's scouting skill. Scouting for Fantasy is basically null at this point. He has to consider using a scan if he really wants to know, because he hasn't seen a second gas, he hasn't seen a Nexus. He finally gets by that Stalker, though, and it looks like Huck doesn't realize this. He could try to trap the Stalker and make a sandwich, and that's what he goes for.
The Stalker is... Ooh, wow, he might actually get away after all. Nice reaction here by Huck. That was close. Well done.
Yeah, man. Huck sandwiches are really rare. It's hard to get the ingredients for those because the Stalkers are so map aware.
That was really well done. I saw him walking right into that second amount of Stalkers, but he pulled back just in time, saw it on the map. That was really, really well. Good job.
Yeah. Good map awareness by Huck, even though Fantasy had a clear trap set for him. Huck starts at Twilight Council now at a very normal timing, likely to see the Forge go down as well, just a singular one. And Fantasy is powering up a lot of units. At this point, his Marine count is now up to 16, and he will start his Marauders as soon as the Tech Lab's finished. Huck had a Warp Prism on the production tab, but canceled it. I wonder what that is going to be for. He may decide to go back into it. He wanted to add these gateways first instead, though.
Scouting information here, Fantasy provided. There are additional gates now for Huck. A lot of gates, actually, and a forward pylon.
Yeah, with these pylons, not only can he get forward warp-ins, but he can spot drops.
He sees the probe.
He sees the probe, but Huck sees no third.
Yeah. How many bunkers do we have? I think only 2, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, 2 bunkers. That's all that he has right now. And we have now the Observer also in the vicinity. Blink is being researched. Gateway attacks are really strong on this map with Blink. And of course the Warp Prism here also coming up. So Huck is going exactly for what we thought he might. He's going for a heavy gateway attack. That's what he is known for. Will Fantasy be able to repel him? Stim is nearly completed. Should be done when the fight starts. But a blink into the main base will be very dangerous as Fantasy has no idea about the Observer.
This is such a cool attack by Huck. This is creative, and Fantasy is not reacting properly to this. He's misread it. He has a pylon, but he doesn't have, you know, Huck with his Warp-Ins that he's hiding right now, and his Warp Prism, which he can use for elevator tactics, is in a great position to do damage to Fantasy, who only has a depot to spot, does not have a single bunker in the main base.
Fantasy is still building SCVs. He's not quite sure what's going on here.
Old school sentry drop coming through. He's going to try to force field. Fantasy on the ramp, so he can't get those units back into the main base. This is very tactical. We've seen JYP do this. Here we go. Fantasy is wise, though. He brings his units back into the main, but a lot of them still trapped on the outside.
And here we go. Indeed, you have the fight going on, and now suddenly the Stim. We have a lot of Stalkers for Huck in the main base of Fantasy. The Terran player trying to pull the SCVs too, but they are already force fielded out.
Combat
and Huck
shield
is dropping in supply as suddenly Fantasy trying to repel the army, but he has too many Harvesters.
Combat shield finishes, but at the same time, he doesn't have any really more Marines to use them with, and Huck may have done it here. He warps in additional Stalkers, and the Medevac's out of energy. SCVs cannot fight against this army of Huck. Huck using an old strategy, but a good one, perfectly executed, and Fantasy is not going to have a perfect score in this group after all.
Fantasy being punished here for not scouting properly. He had no idea what was coming, so it way too late. Huck preparing. He blinks into the main, and he takes down the Terran player from SK Telecom. Well done here. The Marauders are trying to prevent, but it is at this point inevitable. Another blink forward, and Huck is going to blink his way to victory.
He's dancing his Zealots in the main base. They are dancing. GG.
Huck takes his second win. He is tied now. Oh wow, we actually have him tied with Nesty, with Fantasy, and with Senna. This is going to be a very, very interesting group today.
What a close group. Nesty comes out of the shadows. He's going to go get in his booth, but Huck is looking on fire today. I'm impressed with his play. His builder choices are very well planned, I feel, and that was the best map for that build. We have not seen that build against a Terran player in months.
It's also a little bit risky. If Fantasy sees what's going on and prepares, then he will be able to get a bunker on the high ground and be in a better position. But as it is, what Huck did was deny those scouting information, and Fantasy just had no chance anymore to prevent what happened.
That face of Fantasy really shows what many Terran players feel when they face the strategy. It's kind of like, well, I didn't know. You hit it well, and if you don't see this coming, you don't get the bunker up, you're probably going to lose against someone who has decent micro. And Huck, I've heard his control is called by many top 3.
Well done in any case, and now we have the situation with 4 players being tied for first and second place, so this group is going to be very interesting. And well, we have another 5-minute break coming up, so we will find out who is going to advance in just a little bit. We're jumping to another break, and when we are back, we'll see the next games here at the GSL Up and Down Group E.